I'd like to speak about some of our work in the Middle East in the context of basically a little bit to show the history. We've seen the year 1991 a lot. I think it's worth knowing that in the interfaith work connected to UPF has been going on for 50 years. And there was a lot happening in the 60s, in the 70s, and the 80s. And with the founding in 1991 of the Inter-Religious Federation for World Peace and the Federation for World Peace, Father Moon started an organization that was like the mind dealing with religious leadership and the body dealing with political leadership. And those two later came together to be the IIFWP, which later became the UPF. And as we're going to see, UPF is now raising up those two elements again, the parliamentarians for peace, dealing with the lawmakers, and the religious leaders for peace. So the same elements that have always been there are coming out again. And this is just a meeting that took place in a conference in Istanbul in 1991 of the Council for the World's Religions, between the Orthodox Patriarch and, on the right, the late Grand Mufti of Syria. Just showing some of the spirit. This was not actually our conference. It was a side meeting that happened on the side of the conference. If any of you know Dr. Frank Kaufman, he was the person involved in that. These are just a few flashes of some of the programs that we've done. I cannot give you a report. I'll give you a flavor and some sense of what's happening currently. This is a 2008 project in Nabatea. Anybody who knows Lebanon knows that Nabatea is the home of Hezbollah. But we were doing a peace mural, and we had a wonderful experience bringing scouts that were Catholic, Orthodox, Shia, Sunni to work together. And one of the people on that project, going home on the bus, said, I felt for the first time Lebanon is one country. So bringing people together. This is another project. This is a lot of projects we've done around the world with football. They play football, make peace in Jordan in 2006. The Yemen team was so happy to win. The Gaza team, who came through Israel to get to Jordan, through a lot of hard work on both sides, nearly won, but the Yemen team won. And this is an Israel example. They've done a lot of programs in the last 2 or 3 years with Italy and San Marino, working also with the Juventus club, bringing together young players or young children. And this brings the families in Israel of Arab and Jewish families together. It's an important project. And I'm pressing the wrong button. There we go. Oh, this one was... I know that man. What's his name? I'm sorry, I've gone too fast. One more. I'm not doing this very well. Okay. There we go. Refugee. This is a school run by a Korean and Lebanese family for UPF in Lebanon. That's Yola, that's right. There's a school for refugees. When I press it, nothing happens. Examples of interfaith work in 2004 and 2012. In Lebanon, you can see the many religious leaders coming together. A courtesy visit to the Coptic Pope in 2012. Interfaith peace building in Jerusalem. I don't, because I lived in Syria, I've never been to Israel. And if I go, I can't go back into Syria. And I want to work with the Syrian people. So for that reason, I don't do it. But in Israel, they've done tremendous, very steady work over the years with Interfaith Forum and even a security forum, bringing together all kinds of people. This is an example of a 2012 conference in Jordan, where you can see a lot of muftis on one table, and in each case there was one Christian person on the same table with them. But we had some good conferences of interfaith. That was the Amman message. I don't know if you know the Amman message, but it's good to refer to it. I won't try and describe it now. This is an example of a 2006 program where we brought in Christians and Muslims from America to meet with Christians and Muslims from Lebanon right after the war, just a month or two after the war in which Israel attacked Lebanon. And they went all over Lebanon to schools, orphanages, Druze community centers, the university. They went to Cana where they'd been bombed. It was a very good, and the Americans went back really understanding the Lebanese family. It was a very, it broke down a lot of prejudices and barriers, that project. This is a more recent conference in Tripoli. These are some of our own seminars or retreats that we do. We tend to bring them to Rome because you can get all sides of the Middle East region in one place. So we've been bringing them to Rome for the last couple of years. It doesn't listen to me, this thing. A few examples of work for peace in Syria. This is a 2013 conference at the end of the year in Jordan. I would be going much faster. Can you control it from up there?
Yes, please.
Yeah, please just keep going. This is the following January, a conference in the Vatican to which the director of the chair of UPF was asked to speak, and the Vatican ambassador speaking at our Track 2 conference in Geneva at the same time as the major conference happening. Keep going, please. This conference I want to take a little bit more time on. This happened last December, 1 year ago, in Cyprus. And if you can, go to the website, UPF, click on chapters, click on Syria, and read the report. It's 10 pages. It'll tell you much more than I can in 2 minutes. But this was a very important conference because it brought together completely opposing sides in a very civil, human, personal environment. So we had, let's move forward with a couple of pictures. Here we have the former Lebanese ambassador, a very ardent opposition who lives in Turkey, and 2 other opposition people. One's a former member of the German parliament. Keep going, please. We called our conference Opening Lines of Communications. These are representatives from the Syrian government. They didn't come without the president knowing. So we had people with very strongly opposing positions, but they talked to each other as brothers. This was a very important conference because they felt we are Syrians talking in one room about a problem. In Geneva, they're posturing. In Astana, it's a power game. But this was a real conference where people were talking. Let's keep going. And the former defense minister of Austria, in his reflection, wrote, "One of the most fruitful conferences I have attended in my life." And this is one of the UN team for the Carsten Wieland. He's written 4 books on Syria, a German on the UN team. Keep going. This is, by the way, if you know Syria and Damascus, that's where Jesus is supposed to come back when he comes. The Jesus minaret at the Umayyad Mosque. And this is just an example. I lived there a long time, so I feel a lot for Damascus. A deep sense of commitment to peace and love for Syria permeated the entire closing session of the conference. There is a will from both sides to end the bloodshed and enter a new phase of getting common Syrian ownership of common Syrian affairs. I felt the common Syrian spirit from all sides. You could feel there is a will not only to be Syrian, but to build a new Syria. The way is open for a national dialogue. Let's move on. And again, I'm not going to go through all the words here, but it was this man on the right lost at least 30 people, were killed, of his family. But here he is coming to a conference for peace and talking to the people who were responsible for it. It was a very profound conference. Let's keep going. We decided to form a Syrian Peace Initiative group. Do you recognize any faces? Yeah. So 2 are from here. The other is Asma Kuftaro. She is the granddaughter of Sheikh Kuftaro, who is married to Mohammed Habash, who's an active peace ambassador working with UPF. Anyway, these 5 were supposed to go into Syria following the conference. We went through some negotiations, and frankly, we reached a block, and I won't take time going into all the details. We haven't taken that the next step at this stage. But we did get an invitation, but a slightly twisted invitation that didn't allow us to do it the way that would have really brought peace. So we are waiting. Let's move on. This is the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace, the Global Assembly this January, February in Korea, and the co-chair for the Middle East region is Mohammed Habash, the Syrian who helped me organize the previous conference. Keep going. And this is a launch of the Association of Parliamentarians for Peace in Israel. And here you have an Italian member of the parliament with a Palestinian speaking beside him. And keep going. And I'd just like to speak a couple of minutes about this. Anybody know where that is? Sur, Tyre. You know Tyre and Sidon in the Bible? If you know your Bible, you know Tyre and Sidon. This is Tyre, which is in Lebanon. And it was difficult for me to prepare to come down here because we are working on a very important IAPP, this one, launch, the coming on the 14th. Please pray for us. We are working very hard. Our local UPF in Lebanon have decided we're doing it with the parliament. So the parliament is sending out invitations to the parliaments of 5 Arab countries. And we told them we're only paying for one each. We can't afford to pay for all their parliaments. But actually, we're also working with the Arab Interparliamentary Union. And we really hope that it will be a very substantial, we'll hold it, the morning will be in the night before will be in one hotel, the morning will be inside the parliament, the afternoon will be in another hotel. I have great hope that this will open the door for other Arab nations to hold similar ones. 2 days later, we are trying to do one in Ramallah in Palestine, but that's not easy to organize. Our UPF Israel are working with them, which already is not easy, to organize it. And we're hoping today, I haven't checked all my mail yet, to hear whether we get confirmation for the day, because it's very sensitive negotiation. But my belief is that this conference is not really, the Ramallah one, is not going to be a show launch. I know one person who is going to it. I heard from our UPF director in Israel. His son was killed outside the Temple Mount just recently. Wow. He said, if you're going to that place in Ramallah, honestly, they're just going to turn it into a publicity stunt for them. You're going to be used by them. I know, because Syria does that to opposition as well. So I know how people work. But he said, but because of you, UPF, because of the way you do things, I will come with you anyway, and I will help you to do it. So we've got people who are really committed to peace coming. Let's just one more minute. What's next? I have to talk about the IAPD, because that's on my list. I have to talk about it. Have I gone over already? I didn't see a stop sign. Have I gone over? Yes, okay. I'll do it in a minute. If you can I have a minute?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. IAPD, International Association of Parliament of Inter-Religious Association for Peace and Development. I asked, we're trying to change the name because to me it sounds like LAPD, you know. I think we need, but this is religious leaders coming together, and just to show you the resurgence of the role of religion in peacemaking, look at the next 3 pictures and you'll see what's happening. Here we have Lebanese participants and international, keep going. Here we have the prayer being led by a rabbi on the left, and these are Buddhist priests. Beautiful prayer sessions at the beginning of the day. You feel holy at the beginning of the day, just after attending those. I'd like to finish with that. Thank you very much.
I would like to invite two wonderful Syrians, Dr. Omar Babouch, who was actually in Damascus University, but currently he is in King's College London. He's a research fellow, etc., but he will say a little about it. But I wanted David to give you the award, because he loves Syria and Syrians.
Alf Mabruk.
Alf Mabruk, eh. Sorry. Invite Syrian Christian, actually. Where is she? Danya Rashid. Okay. And Danya Rashid. Danya is actually she's pharmacist by profession, but she also works for the media. But the common unity here is that they want to work for peace in Syria. Danya.
Thanks for present to Syria. Thank you so much.
I want also to invite, come here, okay, if you don't mind. Next to Danya. I would also like to invite Adnan.